Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Well, this morning, the nation is waking up with an uncertain future of who will be on the ballot come November. President Joe Biden bowing out of the race for president amid growing questions about his ability to serve another 4 years. The president stepping aside to make room for his vice president.
Kamala Harris earning the president's endorsement and quickly getting the backing of the party's top leaders. But nothing will become actually official until the Democratic National Convention. That's next month in Chicago. Many Democrats believe she has the best chance of defeating former President Donald Trump this November.
And I think for Democrats, looking at the first African-American woman to be a nominee for their party, the base of the Democratic Party is strongly within the African-American community, and women, particularly Black women, are among the strongest of the supporters of the Democratic Party. So I think it would be a hard, really mountain to climb for anybody to overcome Vice President Harris.
As support for Vice President Harris grows, this morning focus is shifting to her potential running mate. Party insiders are now floating names of 4 moderate Democrats. Among those on the short list, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. He's expected to make his case for the job this morning during an interview on MSNBC. Cooper is a strong supporter of the Biden-Harris administration and already issued his endorsement for Harris. He's also joined the VP at nearly every one of her 7 stops to the state this year alone. Democrats also point to Cooper's record as a winner in a red-leaning battleground state. He's also a safe pick without any personal or political scandals. And finally, he's available. The governor will be out of a job come January as he is now term limited.
Meantime, there are a lot of claims floating around online about the historic decision. So we want to verify for you our sources for these claims, the Democratic Party rules and the previous presidential elections. So first up, will Vice President Kamala Harris automatically replace Biden as the Democratic presidential nominee? We can verify no. We will likely have to wait another month until the DNC in Chicago. And here's why. Party leaders and party rules allow Democrats to pick another candidate through delegates. But Harris has a leg up at this point, as delegates in both South Carolina and North Carolina have already pledged to support her as the party's nominee. Next question. Has this ever happened before? And the answer, yes, it has. After assuming the remainder of John F. Kennedy's term, Lyndon B. Johnson was planning on rerunning for re-election in 1968. However, after being dragged by the unpopular Vietnam War and only winning the New Hampshire primary, Johnson announced he would no longer seek his party's nomination in March of that year. So we can verify that, yes, it has happened before, but never this late in the election cycle. And now that President Biden is stepping away from his campaign, there are a lot of questions about what happens to the hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign cash.
If Vice President Kamala Harris ultimately receives the nomination, it's pretty simple. But if she doesn't, that's where things get more complicated. Let's connect the dots. If Harris becomes the Democratic nominee, she will be eligible to keep the money raised so far. That's because her name is on the Biden campaign ticket, giving her access to that funding. However, if a new Democratic ticket did not include Harris, the Biden campaign would be forced to refund that money to donors. The donors would have the option to either redonate that to a new candidate or gift it to the DNC. So how much money is at stake? Well, earlier this month, the Biden campaign announced it had $240 million in cash. And if she becomes the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris stands to receive nearly $96 million of that. And that is connecting the dots.
It's going to be very interesting for us here in the Carolinas if Roy Cooper ends up on the ticket.
Very interesting. Of course, keep it here throughout the day for the latest developments, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning for another edition of WCNC Charlotte To Go.